Hi, my name is Dr. Cora Stack, as you know, and it's like fill in the blanks. I'm almost there, but this is my story: whistleblowing, constitutional duty, and institutional retaliation in Ireland. So this is up. This is on a final version, but it's not completed yet, but it's almost there. So my name is Dr. Cora Stack, and I want to thank everybody for engaging with me on this YouTube journey. And we're here together to try and get better outcomes. But my story is extremely traumatic, but I'm sure it's shared by people like myself all over the world. And a few good people have helped me to stay still standing and have kept my sanity. So I never expected my academic research to change my life or to tear it apart and try and break me completely in every possible way. That's the only way you could say what's been done to me. Every possible avenue and angle and effort has been, through kind of false arrests, trying to stitch me up with medical, going to medical reviews where I was always sent back, etc. This sort of thing to try and, write me up as somebody that's profoundly unstable, etc., etc. So to create a false narrative rather than to respect my brilliance, as it's been referred to many times, particularly recently. So, but well before that, I never expected my academic research to change my life. Or to tear it apart. But when I uncovered systemic failures inside Ireland's whistleblowing system, was a result of just curiosity about what an act of omission was. And I believed I had a duty to speak up. I felt that it was the right thing to do. I mean, we call it a constitutional duty, but I just felt it was the right thing to do. I thought the state would do the right thing, as I always like to do myself. Instead, every institution I turned to closed its doors and in fact labelled me a whistleblower and a dangerous person. I believe there's a code in some places that this is the case, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. That would really fill in the blanks. Where is the code and how far up does that code go in institutions? This is my story, the story of what happened when I told the truth. In 2020, or in 2018-19, I finished a major research project on the implementation of the Protective Disclosures Act 2014 at a time when all the internal disclosure policies were on the internet from all public bodies all around the country. So I went through every single one of them, bar two counties I think I couldn't find. I won't mention who they were, but the rest were all copy and paste, so it was very clear what the patterns were in all cases. What I found was absolutely shocking. Across public bodies, TUSLA, local authorities, education, higher education, etc., etc., the law was simply not being followed. County councils, all of that. Now, I'm not saying that the individual county councillors were deliberately not following the law. I tell lot of them didn't even know this, that the disclosures were unlawful. The internal disclosures were unlawful, full of acts of omission. So, or alleged acts of omission. So I documented no proper reporting channels, statutory deadlines ignored, disclosures buried, and widespread misunderstanding of news, and in particular acts of omission. This wasn't random, it was structural. I mean, an awful lot of information about the rights of redress from whistleblowers were excluded from the internal policies, and so this was acts of omission. They were omitted from the internal closure policy. So a person reading the internal closure policy would not see a fraction of the rights they were, that they were entitled to, and a lot of the disclosures, the actual policies, and the investigation were all gaslighted in favour of the institution. They had the lawyers, and there was no equality of arms in that system at all. Of course, that still breaches the EU equality of arms, as said to me, something about equality of arms. That's the only thing we agreed with on the day. They said Judge more or less agreed there was no such thing as equality of arms, allegedly, in my submission. So I submitted, at least he knew one act, the equality of arms, one. So I submitted my findings to the Minister. I believe my research could be treated as a protective disclosure. It wasn't, and that decision changed everything that followed. When my submission wasn't treated as a protective disclosure, what happened? What can you imagine? The state avoided investigation, oversight, judicial review or accountability. I had suggested in my paper that it really needed judicial oversight, possibly from the Supreme Court. Of course it did. This is exactly what the Constitution should have, kind of implied it should have done. And even then, I wasn't as fractional as educated in all this as I am now. A constitutional question was, can the executive decide the legality of its own actions? The answer is categorically no. But this is what happened in this case. My research was quietly buried, surprise, surprise, and surprised that I'm not buried given what they did to me. Instead of fixing it, the failures I identified, the government passed the Protective Disclosures Amendment Act 2022. It was presented as strengthening the law. In reality, it narrowed definitions, created new barriers, insulated institutions, and enabled ensured disclosures could be administratively contained. Hidden, buried. The new office of the Commissioner had no investigative powers. It's a post box, not a safeguard. I could go into this in far more detail, but I'm just, my research was not acted upon. Instead, the law was shaped to make it easier to suppress. So what happened was, that it retrofitted legality onto illegality, or I hope I have it right that way. So when I sought judicial review, the courts didn't engage with the Constitution issues. This is recently. My case was refamed, minimised, distorted. It was judicial gaslighting, allegedly. Then came the media. The Irish Times, the Journal, RTÉ News, Euronews published stories portraying my carefully structured constitutional challenge as entirely baseless. They did this on the eve of the presidential election. Their reporting was not only inaccurate, it misled voters and destroyed the credibility of my research and the credibility of our our constitutional submission action. It was devastating. A collapse of democratic pathways. During the presidential nomination period, an unprecedented thing happened. Well, the Fine Gael leadership blocked all their candidates, their county councils, from voting for an independent candidate. Not one. And the result of that, and I've looked at statistics, applied statistical analysis to this, this action statistically interfered not on the balance of probability, but beyond reasonable doubt. So my statistical analysis is very sound on this one. Not one independent candidate received a single nomination to go forward. Not one, including myself. The statistical probability of this is extraordinarily low, as my research is. That's all in academia.eu. I'm bringing statistics into the balance of probability. I mean, how many researchers do that? Because, who understands the balance of probability going in as a jurist or even as a judge? My candidacy would have brought my research and its implications into the national conversation. Instead, the entire pathway collapsed. Democracy requires genuine access to nomination. In 2025, that access did not exist. Institutional retaliation. I won't name individuals, but I can describe what happened to me. Across multiple institutions, I experienced silencing, dismissing, minimisation, reputational damage, exclusion, and barriers at every turn. The effect was retaliation, regardless of who or what caused it. Obviously, now looking at it, the word was out there. I had done some research on whistleblowing, and if this had to be contained. And not only that, the person that did the research had to be severely punished in every possible way by all the institutions. Kind of a whispering campaign, obviously, and who were doing the whispering. I haven't got to that yet. Who was doing the damage, the worst damage? My research became dangerous, not because it's wrong, but because it revealed uncomfortable truth. The destruction of my academic freedom, and it's more my professional reputation, my family life, my financial stability. Everything was destroyed. I've been an academic for nearly 30 years. I believe in evidence, truth, and scholarly integrity. And now I'm like 1% in the world because of data analytics. So all this retaliation has resulted in a very interesting rating worldwide, because I've had to learn so much to try to figure out why all of this was happening. So the research I've been doing now for years has really sort of come out of me in the last while, and it's incredible what happened, because I could see everywhere I went, I could get a paper out of it, because I could see the patterns and see the result is all stitched up, and it's trying to piece it all together. So many actors, acting in collusion. I was absolutely desperate. But once my research challenged state failures, my academic freedom collapsed. Well, it wasn't my academic freedom, my financial, my family, everything, but I mean, I did, once it got known that I was, well, I don't know, was it because I was so smart or because, our people were always underestimating me, cancellations avoided, sudden loss of professional support, suppression. Well, not, it just, I was sidelined from a lot of senior positions, including in the mathematics, the Irish Mathematics Society, again, undermining me in a very unfair way. And I had started the education committee of the Irish Mathematics Society, and they took it from me. They took it from the real brilliant person, and they're there now, and they wouldn't be in the halfpenny place to be any of them, not in the halfpenny place. And they took it, because there's power. You see, power, all power control. Couldn't bear me shining. You see, there was that too. A huge amount of envy. I don't want to name any names. That was only one of many places where I was undermined, and my relationship as well. The family I married into were very envious of me, and in my own family, I encountered some of that as well. So everywhere I went, there was incredible envy, and I wasn't aware of it really, because I'm not like that myself, but it's worse. It's the retaliation that's worse. So my work wasn't treated as research, it was treated as a threat. Yeah, two people upheld academic integrity. One is Dr. Chris Hills of TU Dublin. He's the